That's why Nana Addo and our leaders are still alive. And those who are sick and hide it and jog and so on, they're sitting on the right-hand side of God the Father. I need to put in that vibe to give a clear distinction. A statement has been issued. Nana, we all know, will be back in town, towards the end of next week. And he has other assignments. It's not only a checkup. And already those in London, he's been having meetings with the Ghanaian Caucus. And so as an incoming president, as a potential president of this country, his health status has to be declared. He's gone for a checkup. So nobody should shake at all. And I think Mr. Sidun Ketia should apologize to the entire Ghanaian public for his unfortunate statement as a general secretary of the current ruling party for now.
Okay. Now, Madam Joseph, you think that the transparency that we have had in telling Ghanaians that, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo is going for a medical checkup deserves to be treated in this manner that the NDC is doing?
Well, unfortunately, I think all the good intentions of the MPP have been treated with contempt by the other side, that's the NDC, because being a public figure, I think everybody is interested, especially the party faithfuls are interested in the health status of the leader. And therefore, when he leaves the country, I think it's proper that he informs everybody that he's going for a checkup. And, looking at the hectic campaign that we all went through, I contested for the Nkoko seats at the primaries level. And after the primaries, I was so exhausted, looking at his age and his circumstances and everything, I think it would be very unfair for him and for all of us to sit down and not check his health, status. So leaving the country to go and have a check, it's in order, it's proper for the benefits of all of us, for the benefits of our democracy, and nobody should make capital or political capital out of this.
Okay. Now, you see, the point that has to be made here clearly is that the NPP believes in transparency. Even in opposition, things that certain presidents have not done, we are doing it. That tells you the level of governance that we will introduce into this country's governance system when, inshallah, we become the governing party of this nation. But let's move quickly into the Supreme Court case as we have it. And I know Madame Frances Essiem is boiling to have a go at this matter. Today, we saw what Mr. Tony Litha and Mr. Chachu Chikata, together with Mr. Kwashi Aidan, sought to do. All along, what they've been trying to do is to impugn on the integrity of the process by saying that they don't have enough evidence. You think there's a case to be made over there, or it's just a case of musical chairs trying to delay it?
Well, before then, I think I'll just have to say good evening to all our viewers. Probably the excitement of the first, the opening question or opening statement by the host took us off guard. So good evening to all those who are looking at us on the Minority Caucus.
I associate myself with you.
Well, thank you, Joyce. Seriously speaking, am I to say the trial or the duel? That's Tony Litha, the counsels for the first respondent, Chachu Chikata, counsel for third respondent, and James Kwashi Aidan, counsel for the that is the second respondent. That's the EC and NDC and the president. I will strictly say that a word of caution is that you cannot postpone the evil day, and you cannot postpone the judgment day. Whether they like it or not, judgment will be given. One, I don't want to be contemptuous of court, but I have to say explicitly and succinctly that they're in a confused quagmire. And by that I mean they've pushed themselves into a corner which will be difficult to extricate themselves from. So I believe all their actions keep on embarrassing them in front of the whole international community and the domestic community day in and day out. Why do I say so? We have dutifully complied with all court decisions, and as the Supreme Court come out to say, even before the advent of the case, the substantive case on the 16th of, that was 16th of April?
Yeah.
16th of April. when their last delay tactic failed, did the Supreme Court come out to say that the affidavits which have been put in evidence, which have been filed with the registry, which have been put in evidence, are not there for them to start the case? Because as adjudication is going on, as advocacy is going on by the various councils, the members of the bench, in this case the Supreme Court, would be following the legal arguments. For instance, you look at the Evidence Act, which is quoted copiously to back cases of both the petitioners and the respondents, to buttress legal arguments, let me put it that way. And you realize that the bench has to follow it, get up, and at times confer, overrule, sustain submissions and objections. What do you think these things are based on? They are based on what is in affidavit, what is in evidence, which has been sworn to, attested to. When you file at the registry, you're giving your due receipts, and you pay for it, by the way, and it is signed. I think Madam Lawyer will go into that into detail. But then when you file with the courts, there's a fee you pay. You are given the acknowledgement. So if it was not up to, the judges would have told them, no, you can't even lead Dr. Baumia in evidence on A, B, C, D, E, because it is not in evidence. So for us, we don't have a problem at all. In fact, this thing of delaying because of some pink sheets you claim you haven't seen, rightfully said, we listened to Lawyer Addison today. If really it is not for mischief, and if it's not for hypocrisy, and if it's not for unpatriotic tendencies of the respondents, the counsel for the respondents, I would quickly say, you remember Counsel Chacho Chikata was asked, including Counsel Lito, was asked, how many you claim that they are short? What actually led to the KP, NG or KPMG
count or
audits of the pink sheets? One said 7,000, one said 8,000. The next minute, they said they wouldn't say anything again. So, you see, for me, they are rather messing up their own case. And you are standing in a court of law. You are behaving like babies, excuse my language. You claim that you've seen 34 boxes, where earlier on you have seen 24 or 27. So there's a spillover of boxes. A justice on the bench reminds you that the court order was to count pink sheets and not boxes. So this will tell you that it's not a question of boxes, but it's a question of pink sheets. Somebody has been mandated. You brought up this, you fast-tracked the auditing process. Now you're saying that they are short. You heard Counsel Chachu in court yesterday saying that, yes, he can say on authority, the KPMG interim report, you know, that it will be shocking that we, the MPP, I mean the petitioners, have not filed what they claim to have filed. We heard them with our koro ears and our eyes wide open. Today, what are we hearing? Tony Lito also says that there's a spillover, more boxes. You see, so they have confused themselves. And you know, when you begin to, when you're economical, because I don't want to be, when you're economical with the truth, it's one after the other, and you mess up. So for me, I believe sincerely that the pink sheet, they should remember, it's not a document originating from the MPP. They keep on saying, and you brought it. It's a document designed by the Electoral Commission of Ghana, a technical document. It's both quantitative and qualitative. And it is like a budget statement sent to Parliament. That is the extent, the history of the election on the day of the election. It is an account of what took place when people cast their votes. We call it the universal adult suffrage. Okay. To determine who leads them. So seriously speaking, they have realized that with Dr. Farijan as the what do you call it? Is it the chief witness for the EC? Star witness for the Baumia was a star witness actually. That's a petitioners, but the others is just they are witnesses for certain institutions or respondents, because we have a case to prove.
Like party.
Yes, they are parties, so they are witnesses, chief witnesses. So really, with the chief witness of the Electoral Commission, Dr. Afarijan, his inadmissions, either covertly or overtly, practically buttressing the case of the petitioners from overvoting, voting without biometric verification,
no signatures,
same serial numbers, duplicate sheets, unknown polling stations, overseas, duplications and whatever. All the 6 counts that were put into 2 baskets. Were there malpractices, irregular occurrences, and violations according to the law? It is the law that we are looking at, the CR 75. If that is now the case, I'm talking of a scenario, the hypothetical outcome. If that becomes the case, then we are moving to part 2. This is what the judges said. What is the impact
of those things
on the election? After that, then the determination. So we still have a little way to go. So I believe what they're doing is that, you see, they are not even looking at the 11,138 pink sheets at all. They started by bringing in the discarded, the amended ones. I mean, the better, further and better particulars. Those ones that had been actually removed. And started picking them, about 350 of them, till they were told that list them, put them in lots and so on. And eventually, most of their cross-examination came to an end or a halt. Now, why aren't they going to discredit the 11,138? Because they have said during the legal, arguments.
Addresses.
And addresses. No, the addresses have not gotten to the stage. The legal arguments in court now. Addresses, that comes at the end.
Yes.
Right? Then you put in everything. The legal arguments. The advocacy going on now. The legal representation, if I may put it that way.
Yeah. That
the MPP, the petitions have indulged themselves in selectivity, because the selected areas, which were their strongholds, you've fallen into the trap that really these things occurred across board. But whilst you were ranting and raving in courts, they don't have a case. There's no evidence. Oh, they can't take anything to court. Instead of finding out and also petitioning, counter-petitioning within the 21 days, Madam Lawyer will tell her, you didn't do so. And so you've run out of time. Now you've realized that there's a case. And you're employing all sorts of tactics to but you see, I think because of what has happened since Afrejan got into they've realized that they're sinking so fast. He's sinking them more than, he's torpedoing them, like a torpedo submarine, if anything can be called by that name, and faster than Asidun Ketia did by the end of his submission. So what they've actually done is that if they don't truncate, halt Afarijan's, testimony in chief, the problem they are going to have is that Afarijan he goes forward and backwards, and in law, he's just discrediting. He says something today, tomorrow he discredits it. But they've realized as counsel that if they do not hold that trend and try and cut off the credibility of pink sheets, the EC will virtually admit to everything because it is the originator. I rest my case here, and I'm most grateful, my host.
We'll come back to continue with that particular discussion. But let's come to Madam Lawyer. Looking at exactly what is going on, Dr. Afarijan's demeanor, and sometimes he admits and he goes back to deny and all of that. As a lawyer, how do you see him as a witness in the box? I know that you'll be worried about, preconditions, and so you might want to leave out the legal angles. But if two scenarios, if you were his counsel and if you were counsel on the opposing side, how would you feel?
How would I feel? Well, they are doing their best. This is a very complex case in the sense that it's facts, it's figures, and it's the memory. Trying to put together a coherent story. You can see that the petitioners have a very tight case. they've done their research, and they are, all the issues that they have set for trial. You look at the overvoting, they've led evidence to show that there was indeed overvoting.
Absolutely.
There was widespread, what do you call it?
Instances.
Violations, of Article 49(3) of the Constitution, all those things. They've led evidence to show that these things really did happen. You can see Dr. Bawumia, even in examination in chief and under cross-examination, very consistent, very, clear in his evidence that these things really did happen. We've tendered all the pink sheets to show that, these were violations that really took place. So Dr. Afrejan is not having it easy at all, trying to put together, a good story to convince the judges. And it's a bad case to me, looking back. And sometimes I do go to court, look at his demeanor, and you can see that he is really in a tight corner.
Okay. Now, admitting that he's in a tight corner, looking at the substance of it as well, to me, it looks as though Dr. Afrejan is seeking to discredit the entire election. I don't know if anybody has seen that.
Well, I mean, if you are discrediting an election that you conducted, I mean, you were the sole commissioner, if I should say, the arbiter and everything. And you yourself are saying that, well, there were errors. Today you say, oh, but there are no irregularities, there was something else. There were no serial numbers, there were serial numbering, they were different. And using all these words, to show how discreditable the election was. So that's an indictment on his competence as an election commissioner, and throwing doubts, serious doubts on the genuineness of the election.
Yeah. Now let's come to Madam Francis. There was an incident that happened yesterday when Mr. Philip Addison gave Dr. Afrejan an envelope, and then he seemed shocked.
That is the tamper envelope?
Yeah, the tamper envelope. And he was very, very shocked. I was surprised at it because up until that point, Dr. Kojo Afrejan had maintained that the tamper envelopes had no markings whatsoever on them. Now, what does that particular episode tell you? Was it that they sought to hide these things from us, and so that's why they've not tendered in any official document so that their story can be backed, or it is that they just don't know what they're about?
Let me tell you something.
Because they know what they're about.
They know what they're about.
Yeah.
You see, when you do cross-referencing in law, what you'll find out is that if your documents is different from what you are the originator of the document. That's the problem of the EC.
And he has the
We
original.
do not have the mandate to print pink sheets, give it to our polling agents. No. So the point that you are the originator, you put up a budget for every single item, every single emolument for this election.
Yeah.
You took your CIs, your constitutional instruments, CI 75s, the 74s, the creation of constituencies. You did everything, and you were, what do you call it, master of all you surveyed. You wouldn't listen to anybody. So it even makes it more clear. When you begin to behave as somebody who is in utter confusion, I don't know, I can't tell. Master, you don't sit in court and do that, because already you are giving clues to verdicts even before the time is up. And what Dr. Afrejan is doing is that he's giving admissibility on the face of his own constitutional instruments and legal instruments that were proposed to Parliament and which were passed, and for which budgets were given. So there is no way he can run away from those edicts and statutes. He can't run away from them.
And for this to buttress what you're saying, you realize that he has, decided to deny everything.
Yes.
And that becomes a bit, funny.
It's funny.
Interesting. Because, at the beginning of his testimony, you realize that, he was being very professional. He was saying things as they should be.
Yeah.
And then about 2 or 3 days after, he's changed the
baton.
Story, the line.
But
yes, and then denying everything.
Yeah, Joyce, but quickly.
And I'm sure he's even going to deny his name.
But quickly, with the tamper envelope issue,
Story, yeah.
which is a substantive question you've asked. You see, he was ambushed. You remember Dr. Bawumia being the star witness for the petitioners. It's a technical person. So his assignment of heading the technical team, mind you, there's somebody who has been dealing with the financial, the fiscal policy regime of this country, the change, from the the potential entry of Ghana into the WAMI, the West African Monetary Zone.
Yeah.
And you'd realize, even towards the ECHO, they have sat down to do these things under Kufuor. He was the deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana. Practically, he was operations person. He's taught at several institutes, worked at several international institutions. So you should realize that Dr. Bawumia has what it takes to, you know, go through the technical things. And you are looking at 50 CD notes. Look at the brown ones. No serial is the same. Every CD note has a different serial. Here's a man who has worked in what do you call it? Currency deregulation and so on. Brought CD a dollar with, you know, par 1-to-1. I digress this bit to say that here is a professional who knows his job. You get my point? So he has brought out the technicalities, the forensics with his team. I mean, all of you are part of it. And the lawyers are speaking to those technicalities. Now with the tamper envelopes, you see, that is what we call proper cross-examination ambush, which is permitted in litigation. Yeah. Right? Because you don't know the things. The
test of admissibility is
that's
relevance.
Yes, that is it. So the ambush of Addison, like he said, even if I stole it, because there was a time you said you refused anything the court, you said no, I'll not give it. Then you go and quote your evidence, act copiously and things to back. The man said, even if I stole it, nobody can ask me where it was from.
And he's right within the law.
And he's right within the purview of the law. Now, Dr. Afarijan, you could see on TV, you know, it was pitiful. Yeah. The thing was there 2-2 something. The man can't even mention
2384.
Yes. At that point, that is when they started realizing that if more things are to come, the case is practically over. I mean, and Addison's cross-examination is what I call proper cross-examination, not the cross-examination of mislabeling. And the evidence on the fact of those mislabeled pink sheets are there.
Francis, I'm glad you mentioned this.
Yeah, I wanted to land on the fact that Mr. Chatuchi Council, Chatuchi Kata, fell into a trap, you know, of allowing the recategorization which had earlier been refused because something was allowed them, and Seshe came on with what is good for the lower Kutampa, for the Ganda. So now they have chosen that they'll bring it at a later time and not then. So the strategy of the petitioners' council looks like a blueprint on course. And the strategy of them, because you should anticipate that these are documents which are critical to the case. Tamper envelopes, pink sheets, ballot papers, all these things. So you should be revolving your strategy around the substantive, evidential, documentation which we put before court. But you're doing rhetorics, playing to the gallery, right? I hear the girls, you have to do it, but it's in style. Yeah, so Addison's one is more moderate. Yours is intimidating. Yeah. You know, practically hurling quasi-insults at other somebody else's witness. Now, at the end of the day, a tamper envelope has come in, and you are now coming to rescue the originator of pink sheets and tamper envelopes in Ghana. So, I rest my case.
Your case there. Okay. Now,
Nana, I wanted to, talk a bit about the the labeling of the exhibits. Like this document I'm holding.
I'm not clear, so that's one they teach me, so tomorrow I can talk better.
This document I'm holding is a document, by itself, complete. Absolutely. All the information is on it. Right. But for ease of reference in court, you are asked to label it, give it exhibit name. Let's say Frances SM. So you say FE, this document which is titled, let's say, the Far From the Madden Crowd. You decide to label it Frances SM FE 1. Okay. In that chronology, in that order, so that for ease of reference, when you say FE, all the judges or all the parties see that you are referring to so and so documents. Okay. So if the labels have been wrongly done, and that was explained by Dr. Bawumia, that because of the change from the manual to there were some mistakes here and there. Absolutely. But it doesn't defeat the substance of the document, the contents of the document.
And the reality of some of these things is that you had to print 11,842
quite a chunk, yeah.
And you have to print 15 sets of each. That means that each of the 15 sets contains 11,842 842 documents. That makes it one set, 15 of those. Now, when those were presented to the registry, there's a hypothesis that had come out that perhaps in the registry's attempt to source through some of these documents, they mixed up. And so some belonging to set 1 have found their way into set 2, and some have also found their way. And so you find out that some that are supposed to be in set 1 have actually gone into set 3, and so you would say they are duplications, but necessarily not so. Some of these things are patently clear matters that can be dealt with. And so I'm surprised.
Further and better particulars, all these things were set out, the exhibit numbers, and then the title of the documents, whether it's polling station A, polling station B, the serial numbers and all that. So if you cannot rely on the exhibit numbers, you can rely on the other, descriptions. That should be fair.
Okay.
So I don't know why they are insisting on the label, like.
It's as if it's the all in all.
No, it's not. It's just peripheral.
But let's expose a little bit of NDC propaganda here. You would realize that they have consistently tried to do something, which is say that we initially said votes belonging to somebody were cancelled and votes belonging to another person were reduced, among other things. But on point 79 of the affidavit of Dr. Baumia, it exposes that propaganda. But before I do, let's take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll deal with this matter. Welcome back to Minority Caucus. Now, before we went on the break, I said that it is time we expose some propaganda of the NDC, and this is it. On page 19, precisely point 79 of Dr. Baumia's affidavit that is before the court, this is what it says. That in some instances, votes obtained by the first petitioner were unlawfully reduced, whilst at the same time, votes of the first respondent were illegally padded with the sole purpose of procuring victory for the first respondent in the 2012 December presidential elections. The particulars: 1. That at the Open Square New Market polling station, I'll repeat that, Open Square New Market polling station in Atebubo Amantin constituency, Brongahafu, with code G230509, G230509, 97 votes were declared as having been cast in favor of the first petitioner, that is Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, 97 votes. However, on the results collation form, this was for no reason reduced to 17. So in this instance, 97 votes were reduced to 17 votes. Nana Addo lost 80 votes in that count. 2. At the Baptist JHS New Tafo polling station in the Menchia South constituency in the Ashanti region, with code F150506, and 96 votes were recorded as having been cast in favor of the first respondent, that is John Dramani Mahama. However, this was increased to 960 votes on the collation form. I repeat that. 96 votes were recorded as having been cast in favor of the first respondent. However, this was increased to 960. So they added just a 0 at the back, and that increased the votes of President John Dramani Mahama by more than 800 votes. 3. That at the Nana Boabasa polling station in the Mesha South constituency, Ashanti region, with code F150306B, 450 votes were recorded as having been cast in favor of the first petitioner. 450 votes for Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo. However, on the results collation form, this figure was reduced to 405. I repeat that. 450 was changed to 405. This meant that Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo lost 45 votes. So in these 3 instances, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo lost 125 votes. He's been reduced by 125 votes in these 3 instances. And then President John Dramani Mahama, who is now president today, by these circumstances, gained more than 800 votes. Yet the respondents were able to go to court and say, we are changing our allegations. This is clear proof. This is clear proof. How do you see some of these things?
I mean, this is so clear. There's no way you can controvert, because we're all at the polling stations to count, and we all know the figures from the polling station. So how come between the polling station and the collation center there was this change. And that is what Mr. Ferijan has to explain.
And he's sadly, he's saying that these are transpositional errors.
What is transpositional? What is it? I mean, what does that mean? If there are errors to whose benefit? Errors to whose disadvantage? So, we didn't have a fair election. I mean, even if it's one polling station, it's one polling station too bad.
Yeah. Madam Frances.
Well, seriously speaking, I mean, this actually puts the icing on the cake for the petitioners and the MPP. You see, this is a landmark case. Anything that happens here indicates that elections will never be the same in Ghana again.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, and let me put on record that these facts have not been traversed by the respondents in court. They have not said anything about this.
No, the fact is that it's in the affidavits. This padding, because this open square matter, coupled with the dementia, you're just talking of 2 polling
Just
stations.
2. Yeah.
And already you have a reduction of somebody's from 97 to 17, a padding of somebody's from 96 to 960. This morning I mentioned at another TV program, for courtesy's sake, I'll mention the name here, that for instance, if Dr. Ferijan, I was amazed when Dr. Ferijan, said copiously yesterday, without any restraint whatsoever, and under no duress whatsoever, that constitutionally, the presiding member has to sign, shall sign. It's not a question of discretion. In law, there's nothing like discretion. When the law doesn't grant you discretion, there's no ambiguity for you to move through that loophole, the lacuna. Right. And that is done before what? You declare the results. Based upon what you filled on the pink sheet, isn't it the case?
Yeah.
Rejected ballots. I won't go into that cycle. We all know that for lack of time, to save time. Now, you have to sign. Agents will sign. So when you've all finished signing, as the law stipulates, but whether the agent signs or not, the results will be declared so that it doesn't hold up the process. So the most important person is the presiding member. Ferijan's legally mandated pink sheet designed agent to sign. Now this officiating EC para staff or staff moves to the coalition center because the party agents does not go to the coalition center. We are given agents who are accredited to be at the coalition center, including ourselves if we so wish to. I think 2 in this case. But normally, they allow dignitaries and so on and so observers and things. So the party agents are not the coalition agents.
At all.
So when the and they too don't deliver the pink sheet, they deliver it to us. So for instance, I'm a candidate. I collected pink sheets for my candidates my polling agents very early, within the hour and so on, and started collating. Now the problem that occurs is this. If the party agents have finished their business, come back to party office, we are collating, and the coalition center doesn't have to wait for anybody anyway, because our pink sheets, you're collating there. Now, the person sitting there, right, does not know what has been obtained if these sheets speedily are not with them there. They will get probably text messages or what we transmit to them. But that one is not authentic. Because some people take even till doomsday to bring their sheets. MPP, we don't have even about 2,000 plus sheets now. Now, what occurs is, in what Ferijan told the court yesterday, and all Ghanaians who were listening, was that the presiding member, if he doesn't sign at the polling station, which is an offense.
He calls it an irregularity.
And I'm saying it's an offense. Whether irregularity, violation of my part, they're offenses. Because they go against the law. Now, after committing this offense, the person gets to the coalition center and hands over his sheets, and then the the returning officer for the constituency says, "Oh, please sign," in the absence of other stakeholders who have gone. I may have lost a polling station.
So what is the guarantee?
So what is the guarantee that this 96, let's look at that table by mountain thing. For instance, The next one is reduced. The 97, I said this morning, 56, right? Just look at the figure 5, 6, right? A 6 is, 5 can be turned into 6, and then a 0 is put here, 660. No matter how close you put it. You see how the padding is done. So if those whom we have used the taxpayers' money to train them, pay them allowances, give them the honor of assisting to choose who should lead us, will so be corrupted and at times will have evil minds and will bring their biases into the job that they are supposed to do. This is what happens. Afrajan said they will use the discretion in what?
How can you use
If you are going to sign at the coalition center,
yeah.
the law never said at the coalition center. If you go and sign there as a presiding officer, it's criminal. Because then you can have these things. And definitely my sheet and that sheet will be different.
Okay. Now, if you hold on for me at this moment, I would invite our viewership to also join us in this discussion by calling 030-2211-701-324, 030-2211-701-324. Because of a lack of time, I have just about enough time to pick just about 5 callers. So please join us in this discussion. Now, what we have seen so far in this court case is that really the elections of Ghana is not as credible as we thought it was. Dr. Kojo Afarajan himself has come to admit that there are so-called irregularities among others. You think that what do you think is going to happen? Are we going to have a situation where those problems are going to be solved by doing what we're asking the respondents to do? If you'd hold on for me, yeah. I'll just take my first caller. How are you doing?
Yeah, Nana, I'm doing well.
Okay, you have the floor.
Oh, okay, this is Baron from Takrade, precisely Kojokrom. I've been monitoring the program. In fact, it is my favorite program. So always, whenever the BBC is on, I keep on changing the channels till I get it. In fact, I'm very, very, very pleased with your panel. I really like Madam Frances. In fact, she's the type you should always bring her on board to come and give us more insight as to what is happening, because this time around we need people who are so vocal, people who will probably inspire us so that we'll be able to know that indeed, because all what is happening in the court, I'm telling you for a fact, I am following it 24 hours a day. So please, I'm encouraging you to bring them on board.
Thank you too very much. For a lack of time, I'll have to move on to my next caller if he's available on the line. Do I have my next caller? Hello? Okay, so, I mean, and I just wanted you to address an issue quickly. President John Dramani Mahama has said that the court will declare for him. Is that not prejudicial?
On what basis? We are still, the matter is still being heard. We haven't concluded. And so what he's saying, to me, is neither here nor there. It's just...
He's just trying to whip up support?
Whip up support and to assure his supporters that, he's still, on top, yeah.
He still has confidence.
But, yes.
Okay, Madam
So let Joyce land.
Yes, so what I'm saying is that we should all wait for the court to conclude. The lawyers will give their addresses. After the hearing, there'll be an opportunity for all the lawyers to address the court and raise all the legal, arguments, address all the issues that, have been set down for trial. And then the evidence, will go through the evidence and write a comprehensive, addresses to the court. Based on that, the court will also write their judgments. And so until the D-Day, until the final whistle is blown, nobody can tell which way the matter
I have
will go.
Autry on the line. Autry, how are you doing?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Good evening.
Good evening, Chief. You have to be pretty quick for me. You have the floor.
Opinion in your mechanic, send your mocano, Ijimu Dipa, and another wedding can make one of us. And patch on no way.
No, yeah, papa.
Oh, yeah, the Yamiasi. I can't fool any why. I didn't say Uncle, because say, me near me, Jenny says, I'm bad TV pet. Massa, can't go for sending Uncle Propaganda will be able to reduce sooner because Kankata is stating Katia, as some nimpa show court in Nimpono. And Nimpono will be Jawan, your court now can issue not the kind of different. Intimately, then proceeding can about TV summa in a year, the dear, because after Jan, I shall similar John Waffon, Papa no Waffon. because we shall know only pay you the answer when nearby you. I tune and wait. I do we are.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have KB on the line. KB, how are you doing? Hello, George. I'm sorry. Yeah, George, how are you doing?
I'm George from Salaga. Thank you very much, Nana. Good evening, Nana.
Good evening, Chief.
I want to say bravo to your panel. Nana, one from education. What effect does the refusal of the respondents to disclose the number of pinches they have in their custody have on the ongoing petition case? Because they are resisting to tell exactly the number that has been given to them. And they hold it to themselves that is their strong weapon. Technically, I want some education with regards to the effect of their refusal to disclose the number will have on the ongoing case.
Well, George.
Yeah,
Yes, George.
George.
Right. You know, from the beginning, the court sets down the parameters for the hearing of this matter. That's the
Absolutely.
further and better particulars. Whatever documents you have, let the other party have it, so that would, shorten the time for trial, and then nobody will be taken by surprise. This way of going about, giving evidence is like ambushing your opponent. You are hiding information which should have been tendered, at the beginning of the trial, only to spring it on your opponents at a very late stage. And to me, I think the courts are not very happy with that. And that also goes to their credibility. Because if you know that you have a genuine,
Case, genuine matter.
and your documents are genuine and are in order, why are you not giving it out? And what even surprises me most is the EC, who have the originals of all the pink sheets. Why are they not bringing it?
Okay, I have a last caller on the line,
yeah.
so I'll just take him and come back into the studio to round up. Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Chief. Your name and where you're calling from?
Hello?
Yeah, your name and where you're calling from, please.
My name is Caucus. I'm calling from Sinyane.
Okay, sir, you have the floor.
I just want to contribute to your discussion.
Yes, sir.
On the issue of Atiwa Mante about 1917 to 17, this was discovered, and Mr. Kotia, who is the returning officer in Atiwa, or the EC officer in Atiwa, we alerted that there's a figure that has been transpositioned. So you have to correct it. Then he told us that he has sent the results to Accra. There's nothing he can do.
Interesting.
But it's not matter that they don't know. We told him. I was in charge of the calculation. Unfortunately, when our men went to the EC, they went there without the pinches.
Okay. Okay.
So, which means they went bare hand. When they were calculating, any figure they gave them, they accepted it. Later, when you receive the pinches from the polling station, then we discover that there has been transposition.
Okay.
Then we rushed to him. He said, "I've sent the document to Syria, and therefore he cannot do anything about it."
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And that's a very, very serious thing to say.
So
that
it confirms what is in affidavit.
and it confirms what Dr. Farijan has said today, that the errors were not corrected.
Yeah.
So you just get up, you write any figure that you want,
The genuine
and
thing.
once the figure gets up and it goes there, that is the end of the matter. I mean,
Yeah,
what?
the sad thing is that he was aware that there were errors even before the declaration.
Yet he went
and
ahead.
refused to correct them. What could be
Well,
his
he
motive?
claims that
What could have been his motive?
of the 26,002 polling stations, if he was to go through every pink sheet.
Yeah.
But I think there's a simple answer to that. How did he get the figures to declare?
Did he not go
From
through?
where?
Did he not go through the pink sheets before declaring?
No. You see, you don't even need to go through pink sheets because, one, they are bringing you a certain spreadsheet data. I mean, these things are transmitted constituency by constituency results. That is the lacuna in our Ghanaian electoral system. Unlike other places where the polling station results are sent to the EC. So they get the holistic constituency thing. But the cherry of the bite, our president, there's a current, for now, president.
Interim.
Yeah, for now, president, constitutional president for now. Actually met with his party people yesterday. And I believe as a party
On Monday.
in contention was actually engrossed. You see, Sir John is not a party to the case. He has not taken anything. So if he says Nana will win, Sir John, as I did not say the Supreme Court will declare Nana winner. So those are fair general comments which we all make, right?
Yeah.
But for a president to say, oh, you know, this was words. The Supreme Court will, at the end of this trial, will declare us the winners.
Is he controlling the Supreme Court?
Right. So he has cited the Supreme Court directly, indicting, bringing up a conspiratorial theory, and these issues will be examined. But all I want to end on this note that fellow Ghanaians, all who are viewing us this evening, let us tell His Excellency, the current for now President of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, that if he's sounding war drums, we will beat the war drums and dance the atumpani for him. Boot for boot. If he raises a gun, we'll raise a bindiga. Nana Dankwa, Auntie Becky, wherever you are, Dr. Baumia, Jeko Tanko Beche Bilamti, all members of the MPP, we say kudos. And to our legal team, the doyen and darling of Ghana's advocacy system as at now, before the Supreme Court. Philip Addison, all the ladies have fallen in love with you, head on heels.
Okay. You have 20 seconds to wrap up.
Okay, I think, you know, I have every confidence in the Supreme Court judges. Absolutely. They are very independent-minded, and I know that they'll do the right thing. The truth will come out, and we'll all be happy.
Okay. Thank you all very much for having paid attention to this program. I'll tell you one thing for sure, that we have a serious headache choosing the topics to discuss on Minority Caucus, because as usual, the NDC government is goofing all over the place. Too many issues to discuss, but bear with us if we are not able to discuss all of them for limitations of time, but we'll continue to do the work that we do for God and country. My name is Nana Kofi Opondema. Good evening and good night.